Continuing my search for my ideal base, I made my way to the Schrodinger system. Going there seemed a bit risky. All my friends back at the lodge might not know whether I'm alive or dead. When I arrived there, I found this lone ship called the Colander. The engines were disabled and it was not moving. Maybe they forgot to take their noodles out. So I decided to hop on and see what was up. Arriving on board, the Colander immediately found this deceased crew member with a note suggesting that there was something on board that had caused all the ruckus. I proceeded slowly, weapon at the ready. I had heard about some aliens with acid blood and retractable mouths that had a predilection for hiding on ships. After spending many minutes lost, I finally found my way to this hatch in the ceiling. That led me to this little secret passage where they had some contraband. I didn't want to get pulled over by the space police, so I let that be. It seemed everything on this vessel was dead, but I was still curious to see if I could find out what had caused this misfortune. I came across this locked laboratory door. And saw whatever that was. So I noped out of there, proceeded on my way. I left the Schrodinger system alive to go shopping, where I was greeted by these friendly Freestar mule.
I have a really important question for you. Do you know the way to Uranus? I sure hope so. It's right behind you. Smell you later.
After hearing what was perhaps the best and the worst joke, I made my way to Mall 9B. Doing a scan from space revealed that the planet had suffered from some meteor impacts. After landing on Mall, I was immediately greeted by a nice view. The vista on here was amazing, I think. There weren't any landmarks or any points of interest that the scanner initially picked up. So my curiosity got the better of me. I wondered if there was anything out there and if there was anything out there, how rare it would be. So I took in the scenery, got some initial scans on the fauna that was here, as well as the minerals. Normally, I hate sand, and I prefer more temperate climates over dry, hot ones, but there was something about this place that made me want to search for an old relic that belonged in a museum, or ride a camel and assist with a significant revolt by derailing a few trains. Now, I said that there were 2 fauna, but I'd only seen the one so far. Floating balloon-looking guys that I guess were the predators. I used them as target practice, and Andrasia joined in too.
You died today.
They remind me of some demons I slew wearing green armor as gent music played in a nightmare I had. And so as the sun began to set, I continued to make my way, trying to find the rest of the resources in this other missing fauna that I still had yet to lay eyes on. I found the last of the minerals, and then my scanner picked up this facility out here. I found it surprising that there was a facility and there's pretty much nothing else, so of course I had to check it out. It's such a barren landscape. It was a pharmaceuticals laboratory that have been taken over by some spacers. So I gotta use them as target practice instead of decimating the wildlife. I think I gave this spacer brain damage as he just stood there and took it. And I got a level up after eradicating this invasive species.
Always worth checking. Never know what you might find in their pockets.
I thought there had to be something cool in here, considering that was the only thing on this planet. So I looked at the computers to read their logs. The logs revealed that they had found some weird fungal growths in the caves. And they very explicitly said that the life forms inside the caves need to be left alive. So that had me thinking maybe there are caves nearby, and that's maybe where the other fauna is that I have yet to find. Just out of curiosity, I hopped on the other computer, which seemed to be the founder's computer. It talks about how there's a void behind the caves where there is just pure nothingness. Then it goes on to talk about how they laid off the rest of their staff. And then it appears he went a bit insane talking about lunch. Cracking the safe revealed this really cool Varun weapon that does radioactive damage, but I think the design of it is just sick. I'd only seen Varun daggers before, not a full-on rifle. So I did a test shot, and the impact it leaves I thought was really cool, this interesting looking spiral. I just thought this was maybe the coolest thing I had seen so far. And so I set out now in the night to find the cave that was nearby. The scanner showed out in the distance, so I made my way there, but first stopping for a second to take a picture. And sure enough, the computer was right, there was a cave nearby. So here's the moment of truth. Whether the log would be accurate and there would be life inside the cave, this other missing fauna for me to scan, or it all proved to be just set dressing. On initial inspection, it seemed that there wasn't going to be any life in here, just a bunch of minerals. The only sign of life so far had been this storage box that those researchers probably left behind. I didn't have high hopes, but then my scanner hovered over this deceased symbol, this artichoke geophage. And what do you know? It was the other fauna. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough for me to get the complete scan. So after accidentally shooting Andreja in the face with the mining cutter, I proceeded on my way to try to find if there are any more caves that might have some more of that fauna. That's when I remembered my friend had told me about this trick about setting the alternate jump key, which then does a boost instead of just a jump. And sure enough, the boost is significantly faster than just doing the normal base jump. And this would allow me to cover a lot more ground. And now as I was quite literally zooming along, the ship decided to descend from orbit. It was a starborn ship. I had seen these before, but I'd never seen one land so close to me. Now I thought these just landed, but to my surprise, a whole host of starborn came out, so naturally I had to take care of them. And I thought this was the perfect time to swap over to that new Varun rifle that I found in the safe. Now I'm not the biggest fan of its iron sights, but it did seem to do quite a lot of damage. So with them taken care of, I proceeded on my way to this next cave, continuing with the thought that there would be life inside. The sun came up, and so I was treated with this wonderful sunrise after I had already seen the amazing sunset. Unfortunately, this cave didn't have any of those geophages. As I emerged, I saw this wonderful sight. Unfortunately, it was interrupted by these cacodemons. And then I returned to admire the view. Since the cave was a bust, and the next cave was quite a ways away, I decided to check out this point of interest that I probably had already scanned from orbit. When I got there, I saw some of those geophages, this time not dead. I'm not sure I like the look of them. They kind of trigger my trypophobia. I was half expecting the stuff in their holes to go away when you harvest. I'm not sure what I got from harvesting, but they just kind of were there. So I still needed to scan a couple more, so I headed towards the cave out in the distance. For being such a barren landscape, the visuals were still very striking. And then the cave, sure enough, did have more of those geophages. And just enough for me to complete the survey. While I thought this planet was beautiful, I didn't think it was the spot for me. So I moved on to the next planet. But when I left the atmosphere, I came across this battlefield between the Varun and the Freestar.
Damage sustained. Surrender now.
Backtrack on a commission. We lost that shit. That Graham Drive is dry.
The Freestar Collective owes you, Stringer. Please acknowledge. We really showed those Maroon zealots who owns these skies. You're with the Freestar Rangers, right? Space is always just a little safer with you folk around. Any way we can repay you? Done. You take care.
Now on to the next planet.